Hey guys, this is GameGeek2 with another battle. This one is a 3v3, also commented on by our good friend Brave Sir Robin. And basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm just going to give my perspective on this battle, give some commentary on step tactics and the new EDU. And yeah, that's mainly it. And of course, highlight my role in this battle, of course. And here you can see sort of how it starts off. I have my army assembled, and it's I've brought up part of my horse archer force to skirmish because I don't want to spend all of it at once. I want to conserve as many resources as possible, and I just want to make this clear. This is the most important thing in EV battles in general, but especially in step battles, is to conserve your resources. That's one reason why you take foot archers to beat horse archers. Horse archers are more mobile, but foot archers are far cheaper. And foot archers tend to be more accurate as well, but mainly the horse archers make up for this with larger spacing. So in general, the best reason to take foot archers is because of their lower cost. See, I send out one unit of RC riders to get weakened, so I can lure out the enemy and then shoot the enemy to pieces with superior numbers. Because that's the main thing these RC have on their side, is that they have superior numbers, and which means that at close range they can use their superior numbers and not have the problem of accuracy, because Dial High Riders have the highest accuracy rating possible for horse archers, and these guys have the lowest, but at closer range this doesn't matter as much. Same reason why at long range Mardians will deal pretty evenly with Syrians, the foot archers, but at closer range Syrians will tear Mardians to shreds because of their better armor really stands out when things get tough. Plus, Syrians can actually fight in melee, whereas Mardians cannot. You can see now that especially when I get close to some of these more weakened units, because there's no reason not to. They're going to be harder to hit anyways. Although moving them far away is also a good idea, because because that way you get the enemy to waste the most number of arrows they can on killing the least number of men. You can see here he brings out his Arhosian skirmish cavalry. I'm not sure if this is a mistake or not, but turning them around is kind of a mistake. That's why you should usually be reluctant to commit units like this to a horse archer battle, mainly because they have to get so close, and if they get too close they simply get torn up by arrows. I mean, they can deal more damage with their javelins, but it's not really... But the arrows, there's just more arrows than javelins, so you just get killed because of that. The main advantage of javelins, of course, is that they deal a lot more damage than arrows, but arrows are somewhat more accurate. Javelins this doesn't seem to matter at close range, but now with my javelin accuracy changes, it actually does matter a lot. So, yeah. And just give you a quick look at the rest of the army. I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back, and I know this is kind of awkward, but now I'm just going to give you a rundown of all the armies. Brave Sir Robin has brought a less cavalry-focused army. He's got a couple Asabarai, he's got 3 Osaka foot archers, 2 Aziabarai, the Osaka lancers, and a couple of Osaka armored nobles. He's also got some back-train lights, Indian spearmen, which he seems to like a lot, and some Hoplita Hellenikon. Kase, played by Yermungand, has just large units. I recommend it. He's got a lot of Balroi, he's got Imanai, several units of Gailech, Botros, and plenty of the champion units. So his army is going to be virtually impossible to crack in terms of morale, at least as long as his men are living, so he'll fight to the death pretty much. The only difficulty for the Kase is that they get killed rather quickly when there are missiles present, but we're counting on me to deal with those, and for Robin to deal with those as well. You see here that Nacrox, he runs out of arrows for his horse archers, I think because he doesn't conserve them very well. And one disadvantage of this is that Dahai aren't really that much better than ARC in melee. They are better, but not that much better to make up for the advantage in numbers of the ARC. So, this is not a good idea. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. And, especially because I have this, these boss runes nearby. I think he actually meant to charge the boss runes. But that's not a good idea either. For a low unit of Dahai Riders to charge a unit of infantry with swords. He does get to kill off a bunch of my men, but not enough to make it worthwhile. However, he does successfully distract my boss runes by charging in his Arcosian skirmish cavalry, which he for some reason thought could defeat my boss runes. I don't know why. Note to self, the reason these guys cost 1700 is because they serve as effective medium infantry. You can just see them, they're going to take out these Dahai pretty well. He tries to swarm as many units in as possible. But again, he'd just be better off saving his arrows and saving his men. Same with this javelin attack he launches. He probably really should be doing better things. Especially because what's the point of putting your guys in melee against these guys if you just wanted to shoot with them in the first place? Anyways, luckily some of my units reform and are able to use all their arrows, because one thing you should note is that a unit has the same base number of arrows regardless of how many men is in it. As in, if a unit starts with, like, let's say a unit has 50 men in it, and it has 20 arrows apiece, 20 arrows apiece, then it's going to have, I believe, it's going to have 1,000 total arrows in that unit. And, even if a unit doesn't spend any of its arrows, but it got cut to half strength, then it's still going to have 1,000 arrows to shoot off, so it's going to shoot twice as many volleys. The same applies with javelins and all other weapons of that sort. I think they changed that in medieval, but I'm not sure. You can see here the something Nacrox tends to do is send a bunch of his units out isolated because he thinks they can just win battles very quickly. The thing in EB is that to win a battle really quickly, you need either numbers or scare tactics, and he did not have either of those. Rather, Ravin had the numbers because he was able to mass so many of his cavalry against the isolated Seleucid cavalry. And Ulysses, I think, he does a good job here of routing these Saka foot archers, because if you can route a unit permanently, that's one good thing to do, because then you get rid of all of its arrows permanently. Like if you, if said 50-man unit that we talked about before had 20 arrows each, but it got routed, then there goes all 1,000 of your arrows, and they were never used. So this is why I always try to use all of my missiles before engaging in melee, with the exception of if you really are in time constraints, like your guys are getting badly beat up and they need some quick reinforcements. You can see here, my units were about as weakened as his. Mine were much cheaper, and so I came out the better of that fight by far. You can see scattered dead bodies all over the place. One thing I like about step battles is that you just get to see this random mangled mess. Though with infantry battles you get to see a heap of dead bodies in the same place, which can be appealing too, depending on if you're necrophiliac or not. Easy access after all. Putting aside tasteless jokes, should focus on my section. I bilk this unit for what it's worth. Try to get all of its arrows out, and try to get the enemy to shoot as many arrows at it as possible. I meant to try to get in among his foot archers and cause some damage, but I got shot to pieces. But even when I still have only 4 men left or so, he fires full volleys off at them. So I was very happy about that. Yeah. This Martian Archer unit is one that gets destroyed by missiles. This one gets destroyed by missiles too, but it's from Soccer Riders, which eventually get parked in the back by Robin when he has nothing to do with them. And sees that he thought I was struggling, but I really wasn't. As you can see, I'm doing fine. So I'll fast forward a bit. Alright, hey, back with the commentary. You can see here that Nacrox keeps attempting to send his Dahai out, and he keeps getting them slaughtered, but I guess they didn't really have anything else to do, because they do have spears, but you can save them for better causes, I thought. But the key thing here is that you can see why Robin thought I was struggling for a bit, why he eventually brings these guys over here, is see how much of a superiority he has in missiles. He has both these Dahai units and his Mardians, plus he has all these random Dahai riders to go after units, and medians as well. And he kind of wastes his medians. He just goes after my Bosporans, which is, I mean, it's fine, but once you do that, you have to commit to it, because otherwise you're just going to shoot them up. Like, watch this. Like, first of all, they're already getting a bunch of arrows put into them. Actually, it's not that bad, because I don't get off an effective volley, because his Dahai get in there, but that's also a mistake. That's also arguable. Another thing you should notice is that I try to keep my horse archers within 100 of the game's range units, just because of their poor accuracy, so I can maximize their effectiveness. As I said, historically, horse archers would generally operate at about 50 meters from the enemy, so that's the benchmark I use when I try to make them historically accurate. So I have my Bosporan foot archers and my horse archers, both being very efficient with their ammo use. And Ramos, oh yeah, no, he has a third unit of Mardians that he hasn't deployed yet. It's unfortunate. See, now you can see a sort of standoff situation where there's more of a formal arrow duel going on. But I'm not actually shooting. I'm just advancing my units to try to get the best shots they can get. But admittedly, I'm not doing it very well, and I keep taking a lot of hits. What you can see, though, is I keep sending this guy in to try to get into melee with the Mardians, but my opponent responds with putting in his Dahai into the business, which I think just makes matters worse for him, because, well, actually for him, because he does get, actually, you know what, doesn't make things worse for him at all. He just runs over on my RC with no casualties. I think the mistakes he makes is that he sends them out on a pursuit and puts them up close to my horse archers, and then he keeps them going. Worst of all, it's all isolated. He's not operating close to any of his other units. Whereas I plan out all my attacks in conjunction with my others. At least I do in this battle. I'm moving my RC, getting close, and then when things go bad, I retreat behind my Bosporans. By now he's figured out that messing with Bosporans is not a good plan. And as he overexposes his noble mediums, and he eats some direct volleys as a result. And here, Yermungan sends out his chariots. I tell him not to, but when he starts moving his cataphracts and I tell him to, then I tell him to retreat them. Luckily, the chariots somehow rout this unit of Mardians, I think. Maybe they don't. I don't know what happens. Anyways, it doesn't work out very well, and Yermungan's just lucky he doesn't completely lose his chariots, or that they don't get just shot to pieces close up. Anyways, you can see I finally bring all my units into melee. I already had, but see, like almost all my RC are dead, except for this unit, of course. And once that happens, I finally bring up my Scythian riders, who have much higher accuracy, and hence they're much better horse archers, though they aren't that much better in melee. They're kind of like cheaper versions of the Dacians. They cost like 100, 150 less than the Dacians. Meanwhile, he has used all of his ammo with his noble mediums, at least from that unit, not this unit, because the arrow conserving phenomenon of the game has not used all its arrows. Because, of course, a unit with half the strength can only fire half as fast. In terms of volume, that is. Of course, here you have me using bad formations. If he had a lot of arrows, he could have really punished me there, but that's what you need to look for. You need to look for opportunities where your enemy is in disarray, and you need to get your volleys off then. Giving a broader view, you can see how the Saka player has really monopolized all the space on this side of the battlefield. And with the Parthian player being slowly defeated, I'm monopolizing the space on my side of the battlefield. And this is what horse archers let you do. They let you take over a lot of space and harass enemies endlessly. Their weaknesses, of course, are foot archers and melee. As you can see, these better horse archers are just getting... I say screw shooting. I'm just going to commit my guys to melee. Because I outnumber these guys 3 to 1. So I can easily run them over if I can catch them in melee. He recognizes this, but doesn't have any arrows to punish me with for chasing him. So I just turn tail and pick another target. In this case, it's the other noble mediums. And you can see Robin conveniently shows up at a good time with his Osabari, which he used to shoot this unit to pieces. Not to pieces, but cut its strength almost in half. And all of a sudden, almost all the Parthian cavalry, except for the cataphracts, are dead. They're all dead, and my swarms of horsemen are free to roam the battlefield. This is about when we figure that now that we've cleared out most of the missile stuff, and my Bastarnae are safe from enemy missiles, it's time to move in for melee. And this, you can see, we've advanced over half the way from our starting point, very slowly. We've crept up bit by bit. And soon enough, we decide that we need to make our move. The enemy infantry outnumber us greatly, but we have far more support troops available. We have reserves. And the enemy seem to be a lot less coordinated than we are. So I'll get back to you with that in a sec. Well, now you can see, now that 80% of the battle has been spent skirmishing, the last 20% are being spent in a melee. You can see how Yermungan is very eager to get his sword masters into melee against the Babylonians. You can see the effects of my new charges. On the charge, they're able to deal 5 casualties out to these guard motors. And I think this is really one of the reasons that guard mode has become a lot less effective. And I haven't really seen it become more effective despite increases in numbers. The Parthian player makes very good use of his javelins, but I don't think he could have done the angling better on this attack, though. Like, if I were him, I would have parked him there, just so you can get a better angle at your attack, but this is pretty good. And avoid killing your own men, but this is pretty good regardless. I rushed to get my Bastarnae into melee because the Romans wisely saved their arrows for this. And I rushed to and I try to get some good charges on these cataphracts, and I don't mind pursuing them. since at this point I don't attach much value to the lives of these men, besides the use as random suicide charge cavalry. And Nacrox really makes very poor use of his cataphracts. I mean, as I said, I monopolized the battle space, so he doesn't really get an opportunity to, because cataphracts get one charge on a flank with them, and they will completely bowl anything over immediately, but they don't have an opportunity to. This is a precarious situation for me, because my Bastarnai are all clumped up. Fortunately for me, he has used all his javelins here. And I think Nacrox makes the wise decision to pull his troops out of guard mode and actually fight back. He does not take his phalanx out of guard mode, and he probably could have gotten a lot more kills if he had, but he gets a few kills. But he's not attacking with it. It's kind of stupid. He's just getting eaten away at the flanks as his units are driven back. Here, again, Nacrox relying on guard mode. His troops hold for a surprisingly long time. Not long enough, because the Volksmen can just keep coming. And you can see I'm beginning to wrap around the flanks. Also calls it chain route, in the manner of all barbarian factions. But this time I'm only using 90 size infantry and stuff like that. We do have some very good javelin backup from the chariots, though. One nice thing about them is that they have like literally 20 javelins each. I move in my Scythian archers that run these guys over before they can use all their arrows, and I'm successful in this. I do get shot, but not as badly as the enemy would like, and we finally get to engaging these guys on the flanks. However, I'm still sort of trapped over here. I do move my units into melee against this cataphract, and he kind of gets caught, which is not good for him. Yeah. And he catches a general. Here you can see the Castae are indeed making headway against the Romans, but the stalwart Romans are holding their ground. However, they're not committing that many of their men to melee. And really, the Romans' only weakness here is this point in the center. And if the Ricalari can stab their way through, then they'll make it. But the spacing on these men indicates they probably won't. Fortunately for us, however, we have these oh-so-conveniently positioned horsemen right in the back. And we're also completely rolling the flanks of the Parthian player. Although only after most of his infantry were just completely killed. So basically all at the same time, the Parthian infantry gets worn down, and the Romans turn to these auxiliaries as their next defense. Not necessarily the best idea, but hey. As you can see, auxiliaries, they're okay, but they don't put up much of a defense against Bastarnai, and they won't stand when there's mass swarming, so that doesn't work. They do, however, put up very good resistance against Gailat, but what do you expect? And here comes the decisive charge. The standard bearer overruns the Romans, and any hope the Romans had. You can see actually the Castae line got very thin, and the Romans were wearing them down very well. But that was rather rendered moot by our charge, and the Roman line very collapses. And admits defeat. Parthian player gets all of his men killed, almost. Roman player admits defeat, and Icarus, who's very ashamed of himself at this point, for having not committed any of his $10,000 worth of phalanxes here, the battle, just parks his guys in a nuke box, and it gets torn to pieces later on, and I'll get to that in a second. And here you can see sort of what I think is really the result of almost all 3v3s, that they almost all result in very lopsided outcomes in favor of one side or the other. Probably because small advantage turns into big advantage, turns into bigger advantage on one side. Like you can see, Robin got a huge advantage on his side, and he easily won, and I got incremental advantage on my side, which amounted to me being able to destroy my enemy with Bastarnae infantry, and get around the back with cavalry, and charge the Roman player in the back, with Robin providing an equal number of horsemen to this end. See, Robin attempts the ASM tactic of mass charge at a single point. He doesn't do it very well, though. And he should have used guard mode. You need to use guard mode to make this work effectively. At least I think you do. But anyways, at the points where there's officers and not as many phalangites, he's able to at least swarm, get a few men at a time. The problem is, of course, they're spearmen and they don't kill very quickly. So they're not getting much done by getting in there. And the officers, of course, are pretty good fighters. On this end, though, there's an exposed flank. And he's frightened by chariots. The Druids are chanting. All this stuff. Everybody's routed. So it's not. And there's javelins flying, and yeah, so they rout. And since that unit's routed, this unit's getting surrounded. It's getting charged by all sorts of enemies. It's losing men quickly. It's not losing men quickly. Yeah, it's going to start losing men very quickly now. Hoplites getting on the flanks. Another unit of clericoi randomly cracks. This unit runs. That unit runs. And I jump in with my Roxolani to get a piece of the slaughter. And unfortunately, this does kind of screw with the kill numbers. I think Robin gets an artificially inflated kill count because of this. But whatever. Who cares? I ended up with the most kills because I'm such a boss. Anyways, you could just sort of look at the casualties and see how the pattern of the battle went. And just look and see, really, the Casse were getting it handed to them for a while. Especially over here. Look at it. Look at all these dead Britons. There's a bunch of dead Romans too, I guess. We don't know how many of those are from the rout, and there's a fair number of dead British swordsmen. Over here, same story. And over here, of course, just dead Babylonians. So a well fought, good game. Took a long time, and helped me hone my skills as a step player. Probably helped everyone hone their skills, except Icarus, who supposedly went into retirement after this. And came back, but then lost several battles to me, and then went into retirement again. And I'm gonna upload one of those battles. But he plans to at least be on the jury for the EB tournament, so that'll be fun. Not sure how these idiots feel about the jury chanting, but hey. And yeah, you can see what's good. Although I had the least men remaining, I had the least men to start with, so... Besides Nacrocs. Okay, kills. Roxalite Nobles, a lot of kills. All these units had a lot of kills. Bosporans had the most. See, a lot of the Bastarni suffered heavily, but those that got into melee were able to chop up their enemies pretty badly. And most of them survived with almost all their numbers intact. This one did not get to melee, but hey, whatever. Wayne's good game, well fought, and hope to bring you more EB Online battles in the future.